Hi, and welcome to another edition of Your Health with Dr. Christy. My name is Dr. Christy Reisinger, and today I'd like to discuss 4 unintended consequences of the shelter-in-place order from COVID-19. The first unintended consequence of COVID-19 shelter-in-place has been an increase in domestic violence. About 1 out of every 3 women in their lifetime are going to be victims of physical or sexual violence. An abuser is more likely to strike when they're feeling a loss of control or under an increased amount of stress, and we certainly have been seeing that with the COVID-19 pandemic. Government lockdowns have been forcing women to stay at home with their abusers, and we know that abusers have been using coronavirus as a scare tactic and a way to control their victims. Some interesting data around the world includes France. The domestic violence rates have surged by 1/3 in 1 week. In South Africa, authorities received nearly 90,000 reports of violence against women in the first week of its lockdown. Australia's government says that online searches for support on domestic violence have risen nearly 75%. And in Turkey, activists are demanding greater protections after the killing of women have risen sharply after their stay-at-home orders were issued on March 11th. I share these statistics to help everyone realize that the stay-at-home orders are not just for the United States, but are occurring also around the world. And these stay-at-home orders have consequences. As women are staying at home and sheltering in place, they're separated from support networks like friends and family. Some shelters are full and others are closed during this period of time, which is limiting women's access for a safe place to go. I think one solution for this is that we should ensure that domestic violence shelters are considered an essential service. If you or someone that you love is experiencing domestic violence, I want to urge you to call the National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-7233. A second unintended consequence of shelter-in-place orders from COVID-19 is an increase in addiction. We know that social isolation increases the risk for addiction at baseline, and as treatment and support services are pulled away during this time, the risk for addiction and relapse only increases. Isolation further increases overdose risk, and we have been seeing that during this period of time. One positive thing during this time is that telemedicine has been allowed to prescribe medications that once required a face-to-face visit, and I hope that that will continue after this period of time is over. A third consequence to the stay-at-home order is an increase in child abuse and exploitation of children. Because schools are closed, the mandatory reporters from teachers and coaches are no longer available. The calls to abuse hotlines have decreased by half since the lockdown order, and we know that's not because child abuse is decreasing, it's simply because the people that are usually calling in the reports of abuse are no longer having contact with those children. 1/3 of the calls to abuse hotlines are usually from school employees, and now that schools are closed, that opportunity is no longer there. Furthermore, unintended abuse of children may be occurring as older siblings are required to watch younger siblings while their parents are at work. I also want to caution parents who have children that are old enough to use the internet. Predators are aware that children are spending more time online, and they're using this opportunity to potentially exploit your children. Anyone who suspects that a child is being abused or neglected needs to call Childline at 1-800-932-0313. If you suspect something, please say something. And lastly, a fourth unintended consequence to the stay-at-home order is that children are receiving less vaccinations. Vaccinations are dear to my heart, as they are to many physicians. They're such an important way to protect people and to prevent illness and disease. Since the stay-at-home orders have been issued, we've seen a drastic reduction in the number of vaccines that children have been receiving. We have vaccine information from 1,000 pediatricians nationwide, and they have shown during the week of April 5th, the administration of measles, mumps, and rubella shots dropped by 50%. Diphtheria and whooping cough vaccinations by 42%, and HPV vaccinations have dropped by a whopping 73%. This is so concerning. And this isn't just happening in the United States, this is happening worldwide. National immunization programs in over 12 countries are currently suspended during this period of time. The CDC, the American Association of Family Practitioners, and the American Pediatrics Association have all recommended that vaccines stay on schedule even during this period of time. I would venture to guess that your pediatrician or provider would bend over backwards to help ensure that your child's vaccines stay on schedule. If there's something that you're specifically concerned about, please call your provider and talk through with them your concerns. They'll be able to alleviate some of those concerns and may help provide reassurance. They just want to ensure that your child stays safe, and one of the ways to do this is to make sure that your child stays on their vaccine schedule. When you choose to opt out of certain vaccines or choose to change the schedule that your pediatrician has outlined, it creates confusion and will increase your risk of not receiving vaccines in an orderly and timely way. Thanks again for joining me.